Bickley and Marana.
Bickley and Marana Mornings.
Arizona Sports, the local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
Luka Dončić is an offensive savant, a great one-way player. He's also a cautionary tale for Devin Booker, because last night Dončić lost his cool and fouled out of a must-win game at home in the NBA Finals. He was complaining and whining from the opening tip-off. His anger compelled him to take a charge late in the game, putting the onus on the officials, almost daring them to disqualify him from the game, and they did. In a high-leverage moment, the referees did not have his back. Book is very similar in that department. He complains a lot. His frustration with officials makes him occasionally lose his cool in big games. His disdain for referees disrupts his focus, and like Luka, he must learn to fight through the in-game frustrations, because harping on officials is more than a bad look. It is a dead-end street to nowhere, and that emotional maturity is the last frontier for Booker, the area of his game that is currently his Achilles heel. Now, Booker also must return to being a two-way player. Unlike Dončić, Booker has been a plus defender in his career, but that waned last season, because no truly great player excels in half the sport on one end of the floor. So that's the to-do list for Booker, the Valley's most popular player, a guy who needs to step up and be the team's vocal leader. And in sum, all of this is a lot to ask, but exactly what we need. Dončić finally is also a cautionary tale that the footing is treacherous near the top of the mountain, where if you slip up once, it is a long, hard fall to the bottom, and Booker already learned that lesson the hard way. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
I thought it was perfect that Luka fell onto the ground there in an unacceptable position to put himself in with 4 minutes left with 5 fouls, and then immediately looks at the bench and says, "You better bleeping challenge it," as if it's the bench's fault that he just made a terrible play. I'm standing here in the Mavericks tunnel. Over there is the Celtics tunnel. That's where the winners are. If Luka's ever going to be a winner coming out of this tunnel here, he is going to have to use what's happened in this finals as a learning experience. His defensive performance is unacceptable. He is a hole on the court. The Celtics are attacking him. They are ahead in this series because they've attacked him defensively. And you've got a situation here where Luka is complaining about the officiating. They have begged him. They have talked with him. They have pleaded with him. He is costing his team because of how he treats the officials. He's a brilliant player. He does so many things well. They are here because of how he did. His performance in this game is unacceptable, and the reason why the Mavericks are not going to win. He's got to get over this. And the fact that he came out after the game and blamed the officials showed me he's nowhere close yet. So maybe over the summer, somebody will get to him, because nobody with the Mavericks or anybody else in his life has. And that's where the Mavericks are at this point. They're never going to get to this tunnel with the trophy if he doesn't improve those aspects of his game.
Now, that is Brian Windhorst, of course, with an excoriation of Luka Dončić after the game. And every word he said is accurate. The people in the Mavericks organization, from Mark Cuban to Jason Kidd to all their assistant coaches, they have begged and pleaded with Luka to control yourself. Quit ripping into officials. Quit whining. Quit complaining after every non-call that you think you deserve. And at times he's tried. And when he has done it, the results have been great. But he can't stay out of his own way with this. And it's something he is going to have to deal with. And again, I see the same stuff with Devin Booker, where last year, and I know for a fact that Monty Williams, the last couple of years he was here, this was something he tried to impart on Devin Booker. Play through the whistle. Don't focus on them. They're going to do what they do. You can't control what they're going to call. Move on. Focus on the opponent. And he's really, really struggled with that. Frank Vogel was not a guy who was challenging anybody in that regard last year. Frank Vogel, more often than not, after games, would side with his players. They were fouled all night long. It's all the ref's fault. So this was a step back, not only for Devin Booker, but for the entire program in that regard. My hope is that Mike Budenholzer and Devin Booker and the people close to Devin Booker can get to him the way people in Dallas need to get to Luka Dončić.
And by the way, it's an honor for me to be here for the brilliance of the Bickley Blast.
Oh, stop it.
And the energy and the vibe. And
well, good. Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, no, I listen. Now I'm always awake awake by 8, so I'm always hearing a Bickley Blast.
Well, that's good. And now you saw it in person. Wow, what an experience, right?
Mark that off your sports bucket list.
Yeah. It's kind of like watching Jared do the Ginkle thing, but just less disturbing.
Have you
less gyrations.
On a number, we didn't have to call 911 for the Bickley Blast. So.
Have you seen him do the Ginkle thing live?
Yes,
Oh,
I don't want to. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see it.
Well, don't worry. He hasn't done enough this year to warrant it.
Right.
He's insuring.
Right.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you're spot on with that. And the thing about the whining with the officials is that it becomes an excuse. It becomes a distraction. It drains the entire team. Mm-hmm. And so that way it becomes a selfish thing too. And I don't think Devin Booker is a selfish player, but it's about me. And I hope you're right. I hope Mike Budenholzer maybe can bring that because Frank Vogel a lot of the times was just echoing the players' sentiments or being empathetic with the players. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the reason for this move. That's the reason for this choice is that it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And on the Devin Booker thing, the interesting thing was Chris Paul also was very famous for talking to the refs a lot, complaining about everything, complaining after the games. When they sort of switched him out and brought in Kevin Durant, we played a million quotes from last season where he refused to blame the refs. So you would have think that sort of shift would have almost had an effect on Devin Booker as well. And he was a little better at times, like you said, but it's still like a thing that gets in his head.
It does. And Devin burns hot. And you saw it. Even that Game 4 against Minnesota in which Devin scored a ton of points and had himself a really good offensive game. He was playing with an anger and a rage that was almost borderline out of control. And that's the level of control that he has to get. He has to, when it comes to those moments when the refs are really bothering him and the opponent is really bothering him and he is not getting the free throw line the way he wants, he needs to have something inside of him that gets him up and over it, that almost allows him to defy his own anger and to find that control where you can operate way up here above everything else. That's what the great players do. Kevin Durant gets it in that regard. Kevin Durant knows very, very well that when I'm on the basketball court, there's going to be X amount of plays where I am fouled and I'm not going to like it. And you can see KD will show the ref, hey, he hit me here, but he lets it go. He lets it go immediately. And then when he's asked about it, he's never, ever overly critical of referees, ever, because he understands these are humans. And if you dap them up and you love them up a little bit and you show them some respect, they might be there for you at the end. You think at the end of last night's game, after all that whining from Luka, that any of those refs wanted to give him a break?
And you think they're going to give him a break in Game 4 now?
Yes. Yeah, and Luka, to his credit, at least does the loving up. I've been in Dallas. I see him before games. He'll go up to refs and smile and pat them on the shoulder. He's friendly with them. I don't see Devin Booker ever doing any of that. Not that he needs to, but then don't let your frustration with referees get the best of you when the game begins.
That was absolutely the Chris Paul special. It was before the game, put his arm around the ref. How's your family? How's everybody doing? And then,
I mean, the refs are a huge part of the game, more in the NBA, I think, even in a lot of these other sports.
It's a near impossible game to officiate.
And it's the part of the game that I really dislike about watching the NBA, frankly, on both sides, whether it's the players or the calls sometimes. But I'll take this, if I could widen out on the Booker angle, I just want to see more joy from Devin Booker this year. Last year, something was amiss.
Yes.
And and I understand, like, I know Wolf uses the word smoldering. Like, that's not who he is. He's a smoldering guy more than joy. But I want to see them having fun. And it's not to go away from even the refs for a moment, but something's got to change with that. Because
That's
this
a great
team,
point.
even when they won last year, even when they won some games or went on a mini roll, which wasn't, there was never a time where I was looking at them saying, God, this is really fun to watch.
They traded away all the fun. They did. They traded away all the fun players to bring in serious basketball players.
Right, that's it. That's what people want. They want joy. They want entertainment. They want happiness.
Well, you are at the right place then. The Bickley Murata Morning Show.
Yes,
Well,
you are.
Geraldo Perdomo of the Suns. Who's the energy fun guy? I know they traded him. I get it.
Yeah,
Gosh.
no, it's something they need. They need to find.
Who are you talking about?
Geraldo Perdomo.
Who? What do you call him, Sarah?
I believe it's Perderner.
Geraldo Perdomo.
I didn't see the zebra.
Oh, that was Perdomo. I think that's Domo with the zebra comment.
I didn't see the zebra. That's fantastic.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.